UK resellers already went through this. eBay simple delivery. Now it's the US's turn. And I don't think the right question is postage changing? I think is eBay slowly turning shipping into something it owns instead of something you choose? Because as of today, this stopped being a theory. eBay just updated its US seller agreement to formally bring in something called managed shipping. Today, not a leak from a forum, it's in the actual terms now. So let's go through it properly. What happened in the UK? What's happening in the US right now? Why eBay's doing this? What it actually costs you if you don't pay attention, and what it does to your margin if you're running this as a business and not just clearing out your wardrobe once a month. UK first, because honestly, the UK is the test centre for everywhere else. Back in 2024, eBay rolled out simple delivery on clothing only. So there's nothing dramatic. The idea, buyers pay for the postage label at checkout. You don't pay for it. eBay makes the label, they handle the tracking, you print it, slap it on, job done. Look, this bit is fine. Less faffing around, tracking sorts itself out. I'm not going to pretend that it's all bad, because it isn't. What's not fine is everything underneath it. You lose the courier you actually choose. You lose any ability to shop around on price. And from April 2025, it wasn't optional anymore for private sellers. It just became the only option. Then in December, eBay went further and pulled existing listings into it. Listings that already had their own postage set up just switched over. So it never started as a mandate. It got there in stages. Default here, a click you had to find buried 2 menus deep, then until eventually opting out wasn't really a choice anymore. And that pattern matters because it tells you how this kind of change actually rolls out. It's never announced as we're taking this away from you. It's announced as a benefit, an upgrade, a streamlined experience. And by the time sellers check what's actually happened, the workaround's already been patched and the experience hasn't been smooth. Couriers not turning up for collection, damage and loss claims. Every one of the main couriers in this whole setup ended up in a BBC Panorama piece over service issues. That's not me being dramatic, that's just what's been reported. Business sellers, for now, are still outside of all of this in the UK. We still get to choose our own postage. But eBay's own people have said in public sessions that a business version is coming. Not maybe, but when. And if you've been in this game for a while, like I have, you'll know that when, not if, is basically how every eBay change starts for business sellers. It hits private sellers first because there's less pushback, less organised noise, fewer people running this as an actual income. Then, once it's bedded in and the complaints have died down, it gets quietly extended to the rest of us. It's worth saying as well, this isn't eBay being uniquely sneaky. Most large marketplaces do it. Amazon's done it with FBA fulfillment. Etsy's nudged sellers towards its own postage tools for years. The pattern's always the same. Make the managed option the easy one. Make the independent option the awkward one. And let convenience do the persuading rather than a managed mandate. eBay's just doing it with shipping, in shipping's own slow motion way. Here's the bit that actually makes this worth filming now, rather than just being a UK recap. Today, the 28th of June, eBay updated its US user agreement. And they added something called managed shipping. It's tiny right now, just a test, invite only, a handful of states. New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania. Just clothing, shoes, accessories, jewelry, under $200. The insurance is capped at $200 as well. So yeah, it's just a pilot, but look at the shape of it. Limited category, limited region, just testing. That's exactly how the UK one started too. One detail worth noting is under this model you can end up covering the return postage yourself on money you never actually received. because the buyer paid eBay, not you. That's not a small print thing. That's the real hit to margin if it ever scales. And there's a wider context here that's worth knowing about, because it explains why eBay is moving right now. They've been actively surveying US sellers on this for well over a year, testing the language, testing what benefits people care about, seeing which selling points land, questions about discounted rates, questions about claims protection, all dressed up as we want your feedback. But really, it's market research for a decision that's already been made. So if you're a US seller watching this thinking this doesn't affect me yet, I'd push back on that a bit. You might already be in scope and just not know it yet. The criteria for these pilots tend to widen fast once eBay's happy with how the test's gone. Why is eBay actually doing this? Not my guests have said it themselves on earning calls. Leadership has talked about simple delivery as a meaningful contributor to revenue. Not this improves the seller experience, a revenue line in plain terms. And not long ago, eBay merged ads, stores, shipping, payments and financing into one division. They call it services, one team, one job. They're just trying to squeeze more money out of us. Postage used to be just a cost you manage yourself. It's becoming a margin eBay manages, because the moment eBay controls the label, eBay also controls the gap between what the buyers charged and what the couriers actually paid. Think about it. eBay's the second biggest customer of some of these couriers. In some markets, that gives them serious negotiating power on rates. When you ship independently, you don't get access to that scale. But under a managed system, eBay gets the benefit of that scale and decides how much of it, if any, gets passed back to you. That probably is a better marketplace, but better for the marketplace and better for your margin aren't the same sentence. And only one of those things gets mentioned on the earnings call. It's also worth saying, eBay's not hiding any of this, not really. It's all there in the earnings calls. What's not happening is eBay sitting sellers down and explaining what it means for them individually. That's left to us to work it out, which is exactly why I'm making this video, instead of just linking you the earnings call transcript. So why does this actually worry sellers? Not just vague unease, specific stuff. You lose your courier choice. If you found a courier that actually handles your parcel sizes, or you've negotiated decent rates somewhere, none of that comes with you into a managed system. Odd parcels become a problem. Anyone who's ever tried to ship something a bit awkward, an oversized coat, a boxed pair of boots, something with a weird shape like a guitar, knows centrally set rules don't always fit what you're actually sending. You end up boxed into whatever tier the system thinks your item is in, whatever your item is, even when it's wrong. Claims get murkier. When eBay owns the label and the courier relationship, who's actually on the hook when something goes missing? And how much of a fight is it to sort it out? UK sellers have been asking that for 2 years now, without a clean answer. And when you're not the one who chose the courier in the first place, that's a harder argument to win. And then the quiet one, margin compression. If eBay's taking a cut on the postage transaction itself, that's a cost you used to control, sitting inside a system you suddenly don't. For someone running a handful of listings, that's annoying. For someone running 1,000+ live listing, that's a structural change to your numbers. None of that means panic, but not urgent yet and won't matter aren't the same thing either. There's one more thing worth flagging, and it's a bit more practical. Parcel volume. If you're shipping a handful of items a week, a slightly worse rate here and there is annoying but survivable. If you're shipping 30, 40, 50 parcels a week, like a lot of people watching this are, small per parcel differences compound fast. A 20 or 30 pence difference on postage doesn't sound like much until you multiply it by your actual order volume over a month and then over a year. That's the kind of number that quietly reshapes whether a business is actually profitable or just feels busy. Here's where I actually land on it. I don't think that this is automatically bad. eBay's got a fair point about reducing delivery disputes. Genuinely, that does help sellers too, us included. But here's what actually matters if you're running this like a business. You need to know your real postage profit, not turnover. Not your rough idea of what you're paying, the actual number, packaging plus postage against what you're charging or what eBay's charging the buyer on your behalf. That's exactly why I built profit after postage into my own dashboard, rather than just watching money come in. Turnover lies, it always has. And postage is one of the easiest places for that lie to hide because it looks tiny on any single order until you've done 4,000 of them. And that's the actual risk with a system like this. It's not that any single parcel costs you a fortune more. It's that the number moves. Somewhere you're not watching on a cost you've stopped actively managing, multiplied across every single sale you make. That's how margin disappears quietly. Not one big hit, but a few pence at a time on autopilot. If managed shipping does land on your account, UK business sellers, it's coming. US sellers, you're already in the test window. Whether it's shown up for you yet or not, the people who will be fine are the ones who already know their numbers properly. The ones who get squeezed are the ones who were guessing. So get it sorted now, before it's compulsory, before the choice gets made for you. If you want to see exactly how I track postage profit per order, not turnover, actual profit, that's in the first chapter of Road to 100k. It's free, links below. I'll keep tracking the US side as it expands past this pilot. If managed shipping's already turned up on your account, tell me in the comments. I want to know how far this is actually spread. Over and out. Beardy bird.